Is a vintage axe better than a new axe? Let's talk about it. Here's a new axe that I was given by Beavercraft Tools, and I was supposed to review the axe, but as you can see, it has no wedge. That's because they sent me two of them and they fell apart within 10 minutes, both of them. Now, not a huge problem for someone that deals with axes a lot, but this is a brand new axe, and this is what you might run into. Super thick handles, not well shaped. The steel is super hard. You can't file this steel. So a normal person with, $10 for a file, you can't sharpen this. You're going to either have to slave away with sandpaper, or you're going to have a power tool. Either an angle grinder or a belt sander or a belt grinder. This is really tough steel, and I was impressed with how it kept its shape, or how it kept its edge. But it's, if when it does get dull, you're gonna have to be a little better than most people at sharpening, or maybe people don't have files anymore. Maybe this is the norm, but personally, I'd rather be able to file it. Another thing that you might expect when you buy a brand new axe is that it's going to have flat cheeks. I don't know if you can see, but these cheeks are completely flat. It's convexed. So this is convexed here, and then this is just flat. When it comes to older axes, like this, it has a high center line that's convexing. So you can put a banana grind on it. A banana grind wouldn't make sense. In my opinion, the banana grind is the best grind you can put on an axe. But not all axes can take a banana grind, or it's not applicable. And this is kind of so what they give you is kind of nice. They give you a leather sheath and they give you a shoulder strap. That's pretty cool. But it's not, if you're a serious axe user and you want to fell trees and buck wood, you're going to have to do a lot of work to this. And it's $200. So keep that in mind, because with a vintage axe, you also have to do a lot of work, but it could be a lot cheaper. For something like this, which I got to redo this. Oh man, it feels so light and nice. This is a really cool little boy's axe with bevels, and it has a high center line. Yeah, and it has a high center line. Very little, tiny little thing. And this is before I kind of evolved my skills. So it's really proud. I overstruck the hell out of it, as you can see. This could cost you $10 to $50, depending, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. Vintage axes, there's so much value in a vintage axe. In general, I mean, that's why I called myself Ethical Axe, because I think the most ethical rough timber tool is the axe. There are axes from hundreds of years ago that can still be in service. That's incredible. How many things do you use in your everyday life that's over 100 years old? It's not going to be many things. Maybe you have an old ricer. Maybe you have an old potato ricer, or an old pan that you use that was handed down from your great grandparents or something. Other than that, this is about as old as that stuff, these things that we call tools get. I love that part of it, but also, someone made this over 100 years ago, maybe, let's say 80 years ago, and it still works. Now, the same will probably be true about this unless it has a catastrophic failure. But the axe head will always be good. This is just a lot older. I do want to keep talking about this. My buddy, Glenn, makes an axe that looks very similar to this. I'm going to show you guys a picture of that. And I'm a little skeptical because Beavercraft has a reputation of taking people's designs for their knives and carving tools. So you might hear my dog eating in the background. Just ignore that. He's not doing anything crazy. He's just trying to sustain his life. So I had been talking back and forth with Beavercraft Tools for a very long time. It's probably been more than a year now, and this was kind of the last thing we spoke of. You know, I said, "Hey, any axe updates?" And then because I saw Glenn's axe, my pal, and I realized, hey, that's really similar, and he's been working on this thing for a long time. I think it's in the fifth iteration now, so that wasn't even one of the first ones. That was a newer one. I think it's the Mark V now. And I said, "Hey, just wondering who or how you guys came about the design of the AX4, which is the axe in question." And I said the axe head specifically. And then this is after I've told him how bad the axe is, and I've been very nice about it. I don't like being flippant. I really don't want to be flippant. I hope I'm not doing that right now in this. Because I understand, you know, the flaws of us all. We all have flaws. Nobody's perfect. And if you're just starting to make axes, you don't know how to make a great axe. Holtzbrook has been doing it since like the 1600s, like the late 1600s. So there is excuses you can give for this. But I wanted to help them, and I told them how bad it was. And I say, hey, I basically am just fishing for information because I saw how close it is to my pal's axe. And this is what he says after I told him how crappy their axe is. He says the X4 axe design was created collaboratively by our skilled owner, experienced craftsmen, and talented designers to ensure quality and functionality. And then he sent me a bullshit, page about the process. And then I asked, this is the last thing. This was in November. I said, "Thank you. Is there any update on the notes I gave, though?" Because if you see, I just asked on the 11th, and he didn't say anything. So to me, that means no. They're not going to try to improve it. The craftsman is doing what he's doing. And apparently he's experienced, even though he didn't even know how to wedge an axe. And the step wedge has no steps in it. It's just a piece of brass with like barely a taper on it. So yeah, the wedge popped out very quickly. Now, I will say, I am not accusing them of stealing a design with like certainty. This is alleged. I'm suspicious, but I can't prove this. I'm just looking at the designs and they look pretty similar. And that's pretty much it. So I just want to say that it's alleged. You can't sue me. Fuck off. Also, just look how high up they hung this thing. You can't grab this. So that's what you can expect with a brand new tool. You can expect that you'll have to still know a lot about tools because the bottom of the eye is going to be sharp. It is sharp all around. It's not finished very well. Look at this. This is just like a scratch on your finger waiting to happen right here. They do brand it, so at least they're saying, hey, here's my shitty work. When it comes to lower end new tools, you can expect even worse because that head is not too bad. Even though this edge is different than what they actually advertise, this is much more curved. I've been sitting on this for a while. I had conversations with them. They just stopped talking to me. I was trying to improve their axe and they just stopped, or whoever just stopped answering. So yeah, that's supposed to be more straight of a bit, but it's not apparently. Now this, I've shown this before. If you can see, it's completely bent. This was about a $30 axe. It's who makes this again? True Temper Tough Strike. Yeah, True Temper. It's right there. Kind of a cool design, but nothing special about how it's the fit and finish. It's it says 3.5 pounds. It's just flat cheeks and a terrible edge, just wonkiest, the worst edge I've ever come across. Completely curved like that. Now, for the same price, you might be able to get something like this, right? And I'm going to talk about the other side of buying vintage. You really don't know about this steel. So I put this to too keen of an angle, probably 17-degree angle on this. And it broke pretty, back when I did it, I thought this is a catastrophic break, but now that I know a little more, that's honestly not that much. But in general, I guess you could think the axe's temper Could be bad, could be good. You're not really sure. But when it comes to a vintage axe, there's not really a reputation because it's not a new it's not a new company where you know things about it that other people have bought the same axe. So that is one benefit of buying a new axe, is you can read up on the actual reputation. Now, you can maybe read up on the reputation of an axe that's very old, but who knows? And some are unbranded. And quite frankly, it doesn't matter if it's branded, it's an axe. If you're a collector, it matters. But not if you want to use it. And I did modify this, so this is probably not too old. This was probably from the 80s or 90s, if I were to have to guess. So the temper not being that good kind of makes sense, but usually companies will go towards a softer steel, so this break indicates that it's more brittle and hard. With new companies, it seems like they make them all hard. I don't really like that. The only Council Tool makes axes that seem like they're pretty decent in that respect, so I do like that. You also just can't get this cool. It's just not going to be this cool. A new hatchet, they're not going to come up with something like this where it actually is going to be collectible in 80 years. Maybe someone will, but not mass produced like this. I mean, millions of these maybe were made, right? What do you guys think? These little Tommy axes, millions possibly were made, and they're still cool as hell. And then yeah, so in the cool factor, the old axes win. In the predictability, maybe the new axes win. If you find a company that has a good reputation and you know how to maintain an axe, if you buy that new axe, you're going to probably be very happy. A lot of guys understand that you're going to have to do things to that axe. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that people that buy axes like this know that. And one of the reasons why I didn't review it is because I said there's just so many problems. Wow.
Here's the first axe I got. The wedge is completely popped out pretty much at this point, and it was half a bucking cut. This is the second axe. I made a full bucking cut.
That wedge is popping out. I don't really want to recommend this to people, or even like, be part of their marketing, because what companies do, they just give free stuff to small YouTube channels, and if they give it to enough small YouTube channels, when people search axe, this is what they're going to see. So they don't need you to be a million view YouTube channel. They just need you to have a couple hundred. And I really didn't want to influence anybody to buy this, because I wouldn't buy it personally at $200. If this was $100, I'm not so sure. I'm trying to think about it. Should the sheath? I guess the sheath should come with it at $100, but maybe the shoulder strap shouldn't. And I do have to say, I like the shoulder strap. I've never had the privilege of using one, so I was pretty excited and grateful for them giving me it. And they actually gave me two, because they tried to fix the problem by sending me the same exact axe with the same exact problems. So I do have two shoulder straps. I am grateful for that. It's difficult. I find it hard to, now that I'm older, I don't want to just shit on people or companies, but I think that I'm probably shitting on consumers if I'm not honest about this axe. And no, I don't recommend it. I think I'll probably rehandle this. There's no point of even using this handle. Look at the grain. I mean, this is a terrible stick of run out right here in the worst place possible. Again, terrible run out. Now, of course, it doesn't really matter if you know how to use an axe. You don't push through the timber. You could probably use this handle for a while, but you never know. I just have standards, and I'd rather not use an axe like this. And then I'd have to just do a lot of work reshaping it. So probably just going to replace the handle, and I might put it on something shorter. But because this head is so hard, it's going to be difficult to take this sharpness off. This head is really hard. I have to use power tools to chamfer all these corners and all these edges. this is very sharp. You can see the lines. I was abrading the handle with how sharp. I wonder if I could show you guys. I was literally, yeah, look at that. Now, of course, that doesn't matter that much. And any axe user that's kind of competent, easy fix. Just chamfer it. But you can't use a file. It's too hard, I think. Now, I haven't checked if the whole thing is tempered or hardened. I mean, but I think I checked here, and it's still hard. So that's pretty far up. Look how thick the eye walls are on this. It's an interesting design, and by interesting I mean it doesn't look very pretty. Not that I have a problem with thick eye walls. That's a good thing, you know, heavy duty. I would just rather there be more of an eye to hold on to the axe head. It's not very tall. Yeah. This is like a Hudson Bay with lugs, basically. So, yeah, I meant to make this video about new versus old axes. It kind of just turned into about this new axe that I didn't like too much. They do sell these without the handle, $150. I swear, last time I checked, it was $150 for just the head. So they're pretty much saying, yeah, we do really shit work on the handle. And I don't know if they give you, I think they give you the leather sheath. I'm not sure. But, you know, the leather isn't too bad. Where did I put it? Here it is. Yeah, the leather is okay. I mean, it's not riveted. There is a welt. It's not glued, it looks like, either. Let's see. Oh, no, it looks like it might be glued. It's just not the best fit and finish. But, yeah, that leather's kind of thick. It's not the worst. I'm not a leather guy, but I know, you know, I could tell quality. I'd say this is like the low end of medium quality. Not bad though, not bad at all. It's totally serviceable sheath. Let's just hope that no rivets doesn't matter too much for you. So yeah, if I were to recommend anything, it's become exactly like me. Love vintage axes, get into it. You can get so much value out of these old axes. And you know, if you don't want to do it yourself, I'll make it for you. I do make these axes for people. Not often anymore, but I would love to make sure someone has an axe that's really functional. That's what I care about. To me, this is one of my first really good axes, and it's still my favorite axe to cross cut with. You won't see me. You won't see me using this as my favorite cross cutter. Now, I did cut with it. Honestly, not that bad. It could be worse. I guess it's keen. It's just such a goofy edge. Oh man, it's convexed, but everything else is flat. The edge is convexing, but everything else is flat. Yeah, I don't know. This price point kind of competes with like Swedish companies. So it would have to be very good for me to say buy, you know, this instead of Holtzbrook or Grants Fours Brooks. Get the Brooks. Go with the Brooks. If you want a fancy axe, don't get this. Go with the Brooks. It'll mean more in, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, maybe more. You know, this is not it. So anyway, there's my little speech. Buy the old stuff. Sometimes it won't work out, but if they're cheaper for you, maybe you'll get a couple and one will work out. If you want something new, get something with a good reputation. Do some research. You can even ask me about it. I'll give you my opinions if you message me on Instagram or something, or you could just, you know, write a comment on YouTube. I want to help people when it comes to axes. It's not going to help me I'm not looking for that. I just want people to use the best axe, buy the best tool for themselves, basically. And yeah, I want them to use the best axe possible for themselves. And it ain't this.